Welcome to chapter 6 about my Mabuna tank. In this chapter we're going to talk about the dosing principles I use to keep the nitrate down in the tank using vodka. So why would you want to do this? So using vodka on a nitrate reactor you can maintain low nitrate levels, which potentially gives you longer periods between water changes. I'm still keeping it with 2-week water changes, but it could be longer. It'll give you better control over the algae in the tank, which is obviously important, and also generally keep the stress levels in the fish down. You find that vodka dosing and nitrate reactors are used quite a lot in the marine aquarium world, but not so often in freshwater, and there's not a huge amount of information about it. So I've set this and had this running, and this is how it works for me. So how does it work? The nitrate is reduced down into the nitrogen gas and water. That's achieved using anaerobic bacteria, so that means bacteria that thrive in the absence of oxygen. What they do is they use the oxygen inside the nitrate to respire instead of the free oxygen in the water. So this will only work if you have a low oxygen environment. So you need to create that environment for the bacteria to thrive in. You also need organic carbon for energy for the bacteria to respire. And there's a number of different sources. So I use vodka because it's easily available and is slightly watered down. You could use pure ethanol. I think you can use methanol, and you can use things like vinegar as well, because they're all sources of liquid organic carbon. Obviously, vinegar would have a bit of an issue with pH control. So you need also to make sure the environment has a pH that's above 7. So we need to maintain the pH levels to make sure that the bacteria thrive in the right way. So if we look at the equipment, so you need nitrate reactor. So there's a picture of the nitrate reactor. Have tried using the nitrate reactor without vodka dosing, but you don't see such a good reduction in nitrate rates because essentially you're starving the bacteria. So that doesn't work quite as well. Other things that you need is the media, which we'll talk about in a second, and also the low flow rate pump. And what you're trying to achieve, of course, is that low oxygen environment for the bacteria to thrive in. So that's what that equipment's about. Water comes in on the left and goes out on the right, and you can see it's very small 3mm tubing that I'm using to keep the flow rate down. That's the media. So it came with the reactor. It's as far as I can tell, just a standard ceramic media, high surface area. You can see some rubbish building up in there, and of course the water flows down through the media and then back out through the right hand side of the reactor. So it goes through that. So you'll find the first bits of it are going to be aerobic, but as the oxygen gets used up, then that becomes anaerobic. And it takes probably about 2 weeks for this to settle down and those bacteria to really thrive. So it's quite important you keep the chamber sealed once you've got it up and running. Doesn't really need much cleaning to be fair. This is the pump I use, so it's actually quite a small pump connected to 3mm tubing, and that just pumps water from the tank up into the left hand side connector through their nitrate reactor and then back out the other side. So I actually dose the vodka directly in the tank, not into the filter reactor itself. So this is the vodka I use, just cheap supermarket vodka. As long as it's food grade, I don't think it really matters. I don't think there's any particular benefit of any particular brand. And what I've done with the vodka is just drill a hole in the top and insert the tube into that. And that's providing that source of organic carbon that we need for the bacteria. The dosing pump itself then. So it's really important that you use a dosing pump. You need to get the dosing right, and I'll talk about the levels in the next chapter, but it allows you to get precise dosing, and it lets you spread that dosing throughout the day. So that's a really important feature. So that's the end of this chapter. Next chapter I'll talk about the setup in terms of the technical setup and the levels of dosing that we're using to make sure that we're getting the nitrate levels down in the tank. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for the next chapter, chapter 7. Thanks very much for listening. Take care. Goodbye.